The coffee shop was packed that Tuesday morning. Every table claimed by laptop warriors and coffee addicts, seeking refuge from the November rain. Marcus barely noticed. He sat hunched over his cooling latte, staring at the divorce papers his lawyer had emailed at dawn. His daughter's custody hearing was in 3 days, and he was drowning in a sea of legal jargon he couldn't afford to fight. The weight of single fatherhood pressed down on his shoulders like wet concrete. He'd promised Emma he'd pick her up from school early today for her doctor's appointment. But first he needed to figure out how to prove to a judge that he was enough. That a struggling freelance writer working from coffee shops could provide stability. The chair across from him scraped against the floor. "Excuse me. Can I share this table?" Marcus looked up, ready to say no. The words died in his throat. A young woman stood before him, maybe mid-20s, with copper-red hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She wore scrubs decorated with cartoon puppies, the kind pediatric nurses wore. Her smile was apologetic, hopeful, and she balanced expertly on a single leg, her left pants leg pinned up neatly below the knee, a crutch tucked under her arm. "Every seat in this place is taken," she continued, her voice carrying a musical lilt that suggested she was used to making people comfortable. "I promise I won't bother you. I've got a 20-minute break before I need to get back to the children's hospital across the street." Marcus blinked, suddenly aware of his own self-absorption. Here he was, wallowing in his problems, physically whole and healthy, while this woman navigated the world with grace he couldn't fathom. "Of course," he said quickly, gathering his scattered papers. "Please, sit down." "Thank you." She settled into the chair with practiced ease, propping her crutch against the table. "I'm Riley, by the way. And before you do that thing people do, I lost it to bone cancer when I was 16. I'm fine, I promise. Life's pretty good actually." Her directness caught him off guard, but something about it felt refreshing. "Marcus. And I wasn't going to." "Yes, you were." Her eyes twinkled with amusement as she unwrapped a sandwich. "Everybody does. It's okay. I'd rather just get it out there than have people tie themselves in knots trying not to stare or ask." Despite everything, Marcus felt his lips twitch into a small smile. "Fair enough." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Riley pulled out a worn paperback, some thriller novel with a lurid cover, and began to read while she ate. Marcus tried to return to his papers, but his concentration was shot. He found himself watching her from the corner of his eye, fascinated by her casual confidence, the way she seemed completely at peace. "You keep sighing," Riley said without looking up from her book. "Like, really heavy sighs. The kind that come from the soul." "Sorry. I'll try to suffer more quietly." Now she did look up, and her gaze was penetrating. "Divorce papers?" Marcus's eyebrows shot up. "How did you?" "I work in pediatrics. I've seen that particular brand of devastation on a lot of parents' faces." She marked her place in the book and gave him her full attention. "Kids involved. He shouldn't be telling his problems to a complete stranger in a coffee shop." But something about Riley invited confidence, created a bubble of intimacy in the crowded space. 1. Emma. She's 7. The words started tumbling out before he could stop them. "Her mother. My ex-wife. She left us 6 months ago. Decided motherhood and marriage weren't part of her journey. Now she wants joint custody. But she's got the lawyer, the money, the stable corporate job. And I'm a freelance writer who works from coffee shops because I can't afford an office. I pick Emma up from school and take her to parks and libraries. We have dance parties in our apartment kitchen. And I braid her hair even though I'm terrible at it." His voice cracked. "And I'm terrified the judge is going to look at me and see someone who's barely making it. Someone who's not enough." Riley set down her sandwich. For a long moment, she just studied him, and Marcus felt exposed, raw. "Do you know what I do all day?" she asked finally. The subject changed through him. You said pediatrics. Pediatric oncology. I work with kids fighting cancer. She leaned forward, her voice quiet but intense. And do you know what those kids need more than anything? More than money. More than fancy houses or prestigious jobs or perfect Instagram-worthy lives. Marcus shook his head. They need someone who shows up. Someone who's present, who listens. Who loves them so fiercely that it becomes their armor against everything the world throws at them. Riley's eyes were bright now, passionate. I see so many parents in that ward. Rich ones, poor ones, everything in between. And you know what makes the difference? It's not the ones with the best insurance or the biggest houses whose kids do better. It's the ones who are there. Who braid hair badly and have kitchen dance parties and show up every single day. Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. This morning, Riley continued. I had to tell a father that his son's treatment wasn't working. This dad, he's a janitor, works 3 jobs. Sleeps in his car sometimes so he can afford to stay near the hospital. And you know what he said to me? He said, at least I get more time with him. At least I get to be here. She wiped at her eyes quickly. That's love, Marcus. That's what matters. And from everything you just told me, that's exactly what you're giving Emma. But the judge needs to see what I see right now. A father who's so committed to his daughter that he's falling apart in a coffee shop because he's terrified of losing her. That's not weakness. That's love so strong it's scary. Marcus stared at this stranger who had somehow seen straight through to his core. I don't know how to prove that to a judge. Riley was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she pulled a notebook from her purse and started writing. I'm going to give you something. And I swear I don't normally do this, I just met you. This is probably crazy, but I'm a pretty good judge of character. She tore out the page and slid it across the table. On it was written her full name, credentials, phone number, and email. I'm a nurse and a cancer survivor. I work with children every single day. If you need a character witness, someone to testify about what makes a good parent, I'll do it. She held up a hand as Marcus opened his mouth. I know we just met. But sometimes you can see a person's heart in just a few minutes. And yours is exactly where it should be, with your daughter. I can't ask you to do that. Marcus's throat was tight. You don't even know me. You didn't hesitate to share your table with a one-legged girl having a rough morning. Riley said simply. You didn't pity me or treat me like I was broken. You just made space. That tells me a lot. She glanced at her watch and made a face. Damn it, I've got to run. Break's over. She stood, gathering her things efficiently. Marcus stood too, the paper clutched in his hand like a lifeline. Riley, He didn't have words big enough for what he was feeling. Call me if you need me, she said. Or don't. But either way, Marcus, you're enough. You're more than enough. Emma knows it, even if you've forgotten. She was halfway to the door when Marcus called out, wait. Riley turned back. Why? He asked. Why would you do this for a complete stranger? Her smile was bittersweet, full of old pain and hard-won wisdom. When I was 16, scared and sick and facing amputation, a stranger sat with me in a hospital waiting room. My parents were in with doctors, I was alone. And this elderly man just sat. Didn't say much. Just sat with me while I cried. Before he left. He told me that the world runs on these moments. Little bridges of kindness between strangers. He said someday I'd understand, and I'd build my own bridges. She adjusted her crutch, her eyes bright. This is my bridge, Marcus. And 10 years from now, when Emma's grown and strong because she had a dad who fought for her, you'll build your bridge for someone else. That's how we save each other. Then she was gone, disappearing into the November rain. Leaving Marcus standing in a crowded coffee shop with tears streaming down his face and hope blooming in his chest for the first time in months. 3 days later, Marcus stood in a courthouse. His hands shaking as he presented his case. His ex-wife's lawyer was polished, prepared, devastating in her efficiency. Marcus had his messy truth. His braiding disasters and dance parties, his fierce inadequate love. And he had Riley, who showed up in her scrubs during her lunch break and told the judge about hearts and showing up, and what really mattered in a child's life. Who spoke about Marcus with a conviction that made people listen, that made them believe. He didn't win full custody, the judge ordered shared parenting. But Emma would live primarily with him. Her mother would get weekends and holidays, a chance to rebuild their relationship. It was enough. It was more than enough. Outside the courthouse, Marcus found Riley waiting, leaning against the building on her crutch. "You didn't have to come," he said, though gratitude was choking him. "Yes, I did." She smiled. "Besides, I wanted to tell you something. My break that day, when I asked to share your table. There were actually 3 empty tables in the back of the coffee shop." Marcus stared at her. "But you said." "I know what I said. But I saw you sitting there, drowning. And I remembered what it felt like to be drowning. So I built a bridge." She shrugged, casual about changing his entire life. "Sometimes we're meant to share tables, Marcus. Even when we don't have to." That was 8 months ago. Now, Marcus watches Riley push Emma on the swings at the park near his apartment. Emma's laughter rings out bright and clear. And Riley's matching giggles blend with it. Emma calls her Aunt Riley now. This woman who showed up like an angel in scrubs and refused to leave. Marcus has learned to braid hair properly, Riley taught him. He's landing bigger writing gigs, building stability brick by brick. His ex-wife is trying, slowly rebuilding her relationship with their daughter. But more than any of that, Marcus has learned what Riley tried to teach him that rainy November morning. That we save each other in small moments. In shared tables and offered hands and showing up when it matters. That being enough isn't about perfection or money or having all the answers. It's about love that makes you fall apart in coffee shops because you can't bear to lose it. It's about strangers who see your heart and help you fight for it. It's about building bridges. One small kindness at a time. Until we've created a world where no one drowns alone. Emma's laugh rises again, pure joy. And Marcus thinks about that elderly man in a hospital waiting room 10 years ago. Sitting with a scared teenage girl. How he created ripples that turned into waves that saved Marcus's life. How those waves will keep spreading. Through Emma and Riley and everyone they touch. Building bridges into infinity. The world runs on these moments. And today, watching his daughter play with the one-legged girl who taught him how to be enough. Marcus finally understands what that means.